occupy its own. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. That's 9 Pacific. Talk about guns for about an hour. Thanks for joining us. We got some hosts. We got Smeggy jumping in from Michigan. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, how's everyone doing tonight?
And I'm down here in Tucson today. So we are starting episode number 567. How cool is that? 567. That should be a concept.
It's pretty cool. Is there a caliber 5.67?
No, but there could be something cool. 567. Anyway, so we got episode 567. It's Monday, so that means we'll be talking about. I don't know, it's Tuesday. What am I saying? We're gonna be talking about. We have to come up with a state. We haven't done the state of the state today. We do 2A subjects, so we'll talk about every second matters, I think, today, and the stuff we hit every day. So we got people joining us out on the Gun Channel side. We run this on YouTube, simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. Lots of green dots over there. Thanks to everybody who shows up and watches the show live. It's all about an exercise in new media. So it's a conversation that we have using the Google platform here until we can get over to guntube.org and use their better live streaming stuff. But until Night Strike gets some funding so we don't kill his server over there, we'll continue to use the old bloated YouTube platform. So, anything going on? You've been gone for a few days. Anything new in your neck of the woods?
No, not really. I've just kind of been checked out of it. So, I don't know. I was trying to catch up with some of the news and stuff that's been happening recently, but I still need to kind of catch up all the NRA show coverage. I've been seeing, a couple of people doing some pretty good stuff. Like interviews are coming out here and there. Like they probably have it set up to schedule, put the new things out every so often. So looking forward to watching all that kind of stuff.
Muted. So to speak of NRA, let's take a second and get some audience feedback here. So we're going to talk about the NRA show a little bit. One of the best things I've seen come out of the NRA so far is from Nuance Bro. I know Smeggy's familiar with it. I'm guessing the people that have watched this show are familiar. He's one of the people that we support over on Patreon, YouTube channel, Instagram, other social media platforms. Basically, he goes up, kind of a normal guy. He goes to these events, such as the NRA show or some of the protests and things, and will interview both sides of the position. And he has a pretty interesting video here. It's about 30 minutes long, and he interviews this guy with the nut job racist asshole sign. That'll be number 1, and we're going to let the audience decide who we're going to focus on tonight. So that nut job guy will be number 1. This guy who's carrying both an AR and a black powder will be number 2. This guy cuts into the conversation after a bit. I should say, believe it or not, this guy is anti-gun. This guy is pro. This guy's pro-gun. This guy cuts in, also pro-gun. Interesting, some learning things there. This lady's sitting on a stump, and she is anti-gun. And there's some interesting things there. So that's number 1 is this guy. Number 2 is this guy. Number 3, Deadpool guy. Number 4 is lady sitting on a stump. Number 5 we're going to pass because he's horrible, and we'll let you watch the video to talk to that guy or listen to that guy. What number are we on? 4. So this will be number 5 is the couple at the end. And this one is super frustrating. I was telling Smeggy this is a tough one because this starts out pro-gun, but you start to grit your teeth listening to the guy. So we got number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, or the 5 is the couple at the end here. And we'll let the audience decide who we're going to feature or who we're going to focus on later on in the show.
Yep, I'm just telling people to vote 1 to 5 now.
I was like, who's his Yahoo voting 1 to 5?
But something I do like about Nuance Bro is he basically will just like almost play ignorant kind of thing and like just ask questions, and he's pretty good at like, what do they say, like give them enough rope to like, hang themselves or whatever. Like he'll just keep asking, well, what about this? Oh, okay, how about this? Like just lets them go, and then sometimes they'll have like a good like wrap up follow, like, do you not see how you just contradicted yourself? Other times he lets the audience decide. Like he's not there to argue with them. And it's, although some of his questions are, you can kind of tell his political leanings or whatever, he tries to stay pretty neutral and just kind of go through the like whatever that's called, the Socratic method kind of thing. Like, well, how come this? Why that? Like just get them to start thinking about their stuff.
A little bit, and I don't think he's got too much of an agenda other than to make people question their own position or to think about where they're getting their position from, right? To qualify for their position, maybe. So
right, he's making them think about their own reasoning.
And giving them a chance to say it. And it works on both sides. That's why it's interesting to watch when he does both sides of the conversation, because everybody's heard the talking points, and how they decide to, or attempt to regurgitate it is interesting. And when you see the antis, and you can kind of just hear from their kind of replies that it's just flooding past them what they're supposed to say, and their own, to different levels they're able to get their points across. All right, so it looks like last time I looked, we were getting a lot of number 5s, but I figure we'll jump over, take a look at Every Second Matters for a bit. It is Tuesday. We talk about Second Amendment issues. This will give Smeggy some time to come up with what state we want to do today. I changed around Every Second Matters a little bit. I don't know, for whatever reason, I decided it's time to spruce it up. I had to do some updates on the back end. I just changed it so that when you get to Every Second Matters as a member, or as somebody who's logged in, you'll still get to the news page. But the main page that people are coming into, if they don't see it, is going to be just the organizations in this pin board or whatever they call it type of layout. So it's just straight to the logos and kind of a shower of them, right? All of them in no particular order. Maybe I don't think there's really any order. It might be random. They can always dig in if they're not a member of the site, they're not familiar with it, they can always browse around. Then I made the state 2A issues the next big thing in the menu. I think it used to have a different order up here. And then the wiki is next. I cleaned up the wiki. A lot of the stuff that we had in here was for current, was now past, shelved or gone. So moved them over to the past. One of the efforts we'll be able to do during the next month here is take a look at what's on the horizon and what we should put in there for current, so we can start tracking it on the wiki there. Lastly, I added the state Second Amendments on the state 2A issues. I pulled this over from the old Every Second Matters page. And if anybody's curious, pretty much every state has its own Second Amendment. 45 of the 50 have a Second Amendment, so just 5 of them don't. And you can tell which ones don't because it just says none. But everybody's included here, so if you ever have a question about somebody's Second Amendment, a state level Second Amendment, just jump through. They're alphabetical there under state 2A issues. Oh, and then I think I also added down here, it's a bad page to try to do it from. So if you go to one of the pages that's easier to get to the bottom of, there's an About Every Second Matters down here. And that's where I listed pretty much every Second Matters that's happened since 2013. We efforted this a couple of months ago during one of the shows and got most of the list. I updated it recently here to include all the stuff from 2017 that wasn't a main show. Since Smeggy does the legislative updates, some of the other people on gun channels have been doing their own shows, so I included those in the list here, and these link over to their YouTube channels and stuff. So thanks everybody for putting that effort out there. As we go forward, we'll continue to archive them here, and yeah, it's a way for everybody to see just how much effort people are putting into this, being aware of the Second Amendment on the second day of every month.
Oh, yep, definitely. I always encourage people to check out everysecondmatters.com and my legislative updates, but That's just patting myself on the back. A comment just popped up here. It must have been when you were talking about like the state Second Amendment things, and it was saying there should only be one Second Amendment, and that's the one in the Constitution. I kind of disagree with you on that. I like the fact that the states have their own, state level protection, because if something were ever to go through, it's like not only would they have to get past the federal Second Amendment, like at the state level, if like let's say a state wants to ban something and the state has its own Second Amendment, like they wanted to ban concealed carry or whatever, and the state Second Amendment says like, everyone's allowed to carry a gun, like, whatever, that's the thing. Then the law would have to jump through that as well as then jump through a test at the federal level. So it's almost like having an extra protection. And also I find the state level ones super interesting because some of them are just like legit copy and paste from the federal level. Some of them are very similar but add in a little bit, and others of them I don't know if I'm going to be able to quote Michigan's exactly, but I'll use it as an example, is that it basically says like, the individual has the right to keep and bear arms for protection of the state and themselves. Like it's something like that. So it's straight up that you didn't mess with the militia thing. It didn't mess with weird wording. It's just people are allowed to protect themselves and the state by owning and carrying guns. And I think that's cool that it's pretty straight to the point.
Yeah, so every person has the right to keep and bear arms for the defense of himself and the state. Look at Maine. Every citizen has a right to keep and bear arms, and this right shall never be questioned.
Shall not be questioned. Doesn't have as much ring to shall not be infringed. But I just think I think that's cool, and that's also one of the biggest thing when you hear that argument. If people go with, the Second Amendment, that's only for militias, like well regulated. That means we're allowed to have laws and blah blah blah, all that stuff. I point them to the state level one and say, well, then how come the people that wrote the state constitution were pretty clear that it's the individual's right?
Look at this one from Kansas. The people have the right to bear arms for their defense and security, but standing armies in time of peace are dangerous to liberty and shall not be tolerated, and the military shall be in strict subordination to the civil power. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a handful of them I noticed that where they, and I remember I saw something like the first draft or one of the drafts of the Second Amendment. It was all about like, because standing armies are dangerous to a free society, like a well-regulated militia being necessary. Like, so it's like they added that part in even first. Like, we're going to have militias because we don't want standing armies. And then they decided to get rid of that part when they actually, by the time it got put in. But that's a carryover, and some of the states use some of the other stuff.
So Arizona's is weird. The right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired, but nothing in this section shall be construed as authorizing individuals or corporations to organize, maintain, or employ an armed body of men. Interesting. So no individual or corporations are allowed to organize, maintain, or employ an armed body of men. Or at least
I wonder if that technically covers like armed security. I mean, I think they were probably thinking like you can't have your own personal, military or something, but I guess armed security might count if you're working for a company.
I feel like back whenever they wrote this, they were specifically trying to keep me from building up my own army, but I might have to do it as a nonprofit, and then I can get around it. It's the army loophole. All right, well, let's go back over to the chats. And looks like, what do we got going on with the YouTube or the gun channel side? 1 or 3? I like to hear the crazy antis. So I think we're giving that even more weight because it's on the gun channel side, right? But then we got
so basically when I
4 or 5.
I added them up. I had three votes for number 5, and then like 2 votes for number 1. But then I gave Pink, because he said 1 or 3. I gave it to number 1 and to 3. So 1 and 5 are tied with 3 votes each, and then 3 has 1 vote.
I see 4 votes for 5. Oh no, I see 5 is just Pants is saying 5 twice. I got
Yeah.
And then
I remember my old school days with making Excel spreadsheets for Matt's lists, so I think I still know how to do it. I say we go with number 1, just because
we should bracket the people, and then we'll do a bracket. You're saying there's a lot of number 1s? 1, 1, 2, 3 1s.
Yeah, there's 3 1s and 3 5s. I mean, we didn't have very many votes.
All right, so yeah, Smeggy gets to choose. So we're going with number 1, which was this guy, believe it or not, was anti-gun.
People were still able to carry out here while that identified, and I think because the NRA annual meeting in Dallas, Texas, we're going to interview protesters and supporters. Let's go figure out what's going on. So why are we out here today? We're out here because the gun culture in this country is insane, and these kids are doing what it takes to get it changed. And I just want to support that every way I can.
And what exactly are we trying to achieve today?
Well, the issue that they've identified, and I think that this is a good place to start, is to have background checks. There's a patchwork of legislation in different states, and if we can get everybody on board, and the data shows, as they were saying earlier, 97% of Americans favor having solid background checks. Now, right now, there's too many loopholes, and especially in a state like Texas. And so, yeah, if we could just make that simple step, I'd be in favor of going a lot farther, but that'd be a good place to start.
Like how far? Like what kind of specifics are you talking about?
Well, personally, I think that the Second Amendment is. I mean, first of all, it's grossly abused and misunderstood. But
How so?
Well, I don't think that the Second. Yeah, the Supreme Court was split on this. I don't think the Second Amendment is about individuals carrying guns, for protection or just as it's not an innate right, right? If you simply read the text of the Second Amendment, it's about, the right to have a militia.
It says the right to have a militia?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's not exactly what it says. I don't have the text off the top.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed. There you go. And I believe that clause is essential to what it means. And I honestly think that it's outdated. I'd be okay if we got rid of it. But
it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. It has a prefatory clause about well-regulated militias, like the context of what things were like back then.
But again, that's the context, right? And that context has been taken out of hand. And you don't see across the world other first world nations with this kind of culture and with the idea that somehow owning a weapon that's who's an instrument whose purpose is to kill people, that's somehow an innate right. I mean, that's just insane to me. And so, again, I may be a bit of an extremist, but I'm willing to compromise if we could just get background checks. If we can, if we can get some of these weapons and some of these magazines and stick to these laws that, with the large magazines, whose only purpose really is to kill lots of people, right? So we're not supporting that, and I honestly have very little respect for people who say that it's a hobby. I mean, that's fine, but it needs to be a well-regulated hobby if that's what it is,
So as far as large capacity magazines, obviously police have them and they carry them and they use them in their handguns and their rifles as well. So you would support banning it for civilian police officers as well?
Yeah, I mean, the militarization of the police force in this country is another thing that's just gotten way out of hand. I mean, there are some countries where the police do not routinely carry weapons.
Is that something you would like to see here?
I would like to see it here. I'm realistic. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. But I just, that again, this talk that if you have that by bringing more weapons into a situation that somehow that's going to make people safer. That's just not even logical.
So you're carrying, I'm guessing, what, an AR?
All right, so that's enough to get us copyrighted, probably. What do you think?
Yeah, hopefully this will count as fair use because we're commenting upon it and gave the dude a million shout outs and told everyone to go check out Nuance Bro on YouTube because he's awesome. So he should get tons of views.
So what do you think? Pretty good arguments that guy, pretty good points that guy makes. He has a good point there.
Well, a well-balanced diet or a well-balanced breakfast being necessary to the start of a good day, the right of the people to keep and eat fruit shall not be infringed.
You think that
I don't know. Does that mean the breakfast has the right to the fruit, or do the people have the right to the fruit? And secondly, can you only eat fruit at breakfast, or is that just one of the options in which you can use fruit to eat to become well nourished?
So do you think that would have worked on that guy in that situation there?
I don't know. Possibly. I mean, it's because it's one of those things where he's like, well, the thing's all about militias. Well, I don't really know what it says right off the top of my head. So it's like, maybe if he revisits the actual wording of it and the grammar of it, I've been very positive of that argument. I don't know that it's ever really worked because I've never talked to a person in real life that thinks it's only about militias. So
we don't get to talk to people. That's why I figure this might be useful. So just your explanation of it there, you said it pretty quick. You're familiar with it. People listening, 33 people listening. So say it again, your concept of trying to equate this guy to the concept of the Second Amendment without the guns, right?
Right. So it basically, I mean, you take each part and structure it exactly like the Second Amendment. So a well-balanced breakfast being necessary to the start of a good day, obviously very much like the militia thing, the right of the people to keep and eat fruit shall not be infringed.
Yeah, so you're trying to illustrate to them that the militia isn't the qualifier of the second, that it doesn't enumerate a right given to the state in juxtaposition from any other right in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, that don't give any rights to the states. They only say what the state can't do. They only talk about what's prohibited from the state, what the state's prohibited from doing to the free person. But
right. And the people,
that's the time though when this guy's there to support the kids or whatever. I don't know. I just don't know if it's a time to challenge him on his position that the Second Amendment is about the militia, because I don't think it's not like a linchpin. It's not the keystone in his argument. Once he's like, oh, it is the right of the people. Now I'm okay with all this other stuff.
Well, and you're right. And this is why that on that particular person that might not work, because even later he goes, I'd be okay with getting rid of the Second Amendment altogether. So he doesn't care if it's a right or not. Like he doesn't even want it to be a right.
Right. So I think just bickering about it would be to him bickering, and he would think it's diversion from the real issue. So I'm wondering, back to our thing about cards, right? Having something that we could leave the guy. So you have this discussion, and in this kind of situation, I really don't think you're going to change minds. So that's unrealistic. But you could potentially talk to someone when they're open-minded, right? When they're actually having a conversation. And if you can keep calm and have a fulfilling conversation for them and show that you're understanding their position, because honestly, it's intel, right? We're learning from these conversations with these people what their positions really are. If you can gain insight and then let them know that you're getting something out of it, maybe if you give them something that they can walk away from, not only will they potentially follow up on it, but at least they know that you're interested enough in this conversation to have prepared for it. So I'm thinking having a series of cards there, depending on what topics they're going to bring up. Maybe that thing that Dano had, that website that addressed a lot of the major concerns or the major points, I guess, of the antis, having something that would have a reference, maybe 1 or 2 bullet points only, so that if his concern was high capacity magazines or something, maybe have a card that would address that in a way that didn't say like, hey, you're an idiot, but instead said, hey, here's actual information on that. Or do you know that those magazines only fit in like 0.2% of all guns?
Right. I mean, I think he did a decent thing with the magazine of saying like the cops carry those so they can defend themselves. Like, it's obviously read between the lines. He's basically saying like it's the best tool for the job type of thing. Like they're put in a dangerous situation. They need to save lives. Why shouldn't regular citizens be able to save lives? Like
Regular citizens aren't trained. Ace of Skulls says you don't bring up that breakfast argument, you bring up the 1A and the internet versus free speech, meaning, they didn't know about the internet back in the day. So if, the Second Amendment was written for the militia, and was the First Amendment written for people communicating, amongst themselves, or was it written for the press? Is that, the free press, does that mean the internet? Like each of us are able to have a blog, or should we be licensed or somehow vetted before we start spewing our opinions out to the world?
Right. I like the internet one for when people bring up it was about muskets, because then you're talking specifically about the technology at the time and then what it evolved into.
But this
guy's a similar correlation.
This guy says it's outdated.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm all for trying any angle, see if you can, chip away, get them thinking. Like I said, I love the way Nuance Bro just asks questions and gets them to kind of think about their own philosophy for a little bit.
I don't even know if that gets accomplished. I mean, I think that some of these people, if they do take the chance to go watch themselves, they're going to see that they're stepping all over themselves, that none of their stuff got out of their head, out of their mouth right. For the most part, I mean, very few of them get their points across well. But I think them being clumsy has got to be teaching them something, right? Like it's just got to be showing them the mirror that they haven't looked in before. Oh, wait a minute, I can't even enunciate what I'm trying. My position really is here. So
right, and the viewers, there could be people that are, watching it because they're curious, going, cheering that guy on, going, yeah, he's saying all the right things, and then going, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, seriously, exactly. Like there was one, I forget what it was now. It was a while ago. It might have been a Trump thing. And yeah, he had made somebody kind of question, and then they were like, wait a minute. So they kind of realized in the middle of their trying to explain to him that their position was whack, basically. I think that, I keep going back to that Trump has all the guns type of thing. When that guy said that he didn't want even the police to have guns, that wouldn't have really worked for my kind of theory there, but I think most of them would say they want the police to have the guns.
Right, but even still, that it would still kind of work, because I don't even want the cops to have guns, and you could say something like, but you think we should surrender ours, and for a while they would be the only one with guns until maybe in the future they got rid of them or whatever. But there's still going to be a point where the evil racist killer cops are the only ones with guns and the people don't have them. And obviously I'm using their words because I don't think cops are like that, just for the record. I'm going to night strike it here and explain myself very thoroughly.
Let's see. So Al is talking about that restaurant in Dallas with the receipt. You hear about that at all? See that on Instagram?
I did, yes. It's the bottom of the receipt said something about part of your proceeds are going to go to sensible gun control or gun laws or something like that. And then someone posted it. They came back and responded. We're like, no, we're not for gun control. But we don't have enough room on the bottom of the receipt to type a bunch of stuff.
Did you see?
Well, that's what I was just about to get to. Is then someone else pulled up a chat before, going, "What do you think we should do?" I think we should do this. But yeah, there it is on the screen there.
So basically, there's this receipt that's been going around at the NRA, where at the bottom of the receipt it said, "Thanks for visiting this dumbass restaurant. A portion of our profits, our capitalist profits, will be donated to communist organizations dedicated to implementing reasonable and effective gun regulations that protect citizens' Second Amendment rights and also help reduce needless gun violence. Welcome to Dallas," right? And then a bunch of people were like, "Hey, don't go to this place because they're a bunch of jerks." Then they
actually added that second part after the fact. It ended with effective gun regulation, and then it stopped. And then So that was their first attempt to.
That protects citizen Second Amendment rights stuff. They added that, right? You're saying?
Yes.
So then they put out this big, long thing, what a day it's been. We wanted to give some clarification, blah, blah, blah. After a courteous and informative conversation with the customer, blah, blah, blah. We believe our position is anything but controversial. Rather, blah, blah, blah. No one wants children, blah, blah, blah. As Americans, we are supposed to. Right? And then Old Timers Channel posts this thing where they're like, yeah, the, I guess, owner and partner of the place is like, we're taking lots of NRA money in the form of reservations while they're in Dallas. Do we take all their money, or do we take a stand and tell them to fuck off? So he writes on here, fuck off. Look at that language. And then it's a private conversation, I guess. It goes, it's blood money. Do you have time to make new staff shirts, something that reads fuck the NRA or reform gun laws? And he goes, how about a message at the bottom of our guest check? Subtle, but there for everybody to see. And then he's like, what will it read? And then he puts it in here, and then they say, take their money. It's as much as you can. Less funding donations for them. And he's like, I plan to. It's just painful. So, yeah, they were definitely in cahoots to do it according to this little thing. If it's not doctored, it can easily be doctored. But, yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's a little bit of new media doing their thing, I suppose. People rooting it out, Mac seeing it, throwing it out to something like 4,000 people.
Yeah, and that definitely undercuts their argument of, like, no, we just didn't have enough room on the receipt, which they added the whole, which protects Second Amendment rights. So obviously you did have more room on the receipt in the first place. But they're like, we don't want to take anyone's guns. Like, we like guns. Like, no, you don't. If, like you said, that private conversation was like an actual, like, Facebook thing or whatever. I don't know where that message came from, but... Oh, I was supposed to be finding a state.
Yep, we're going to need that. And then what else were we going to do today? We're going to talk about a member of the day. Every day we like to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. This week, or for a while here, we've been featuring their YouTube channels. And today it's Ghost Tactical. He had a show earlier today. Got cut off. He must have had a internet glitch or something. But his YouTube channel is in the link there. And we encourage people to check it out. He does lots of good stuff. The target of the month, the drill of the month, and then well, he's been traveling quite a bit to these different things. He's active in the live chats. He's encouraging to the people that are creating their projects. He's been avidly putting out or helping people with their logos and stuff. So yeah, great asset to the community, to Gun Channels, and to the country. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I really like Ghost content. He does a very good job. I was able to meet him in person at SHOT Show. Cool dude to hang out with. And that'd be interesting. Okay, I'll see what I can find. But yeah, I think that he's got a lot of coverage coming shortly from the NRA. I've seen a couple things come out already, and he's the type that will drop a video every so often. And yeah, keep an eye out on his channel for new stuff.
I've heard he also drops those videos as if they were warm, if not hot.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
All right, so that's our member of the day, and we will move on to some kind of a Second Amendment topic. We are on the iTunes now, so if you are a member of the iTunes, I don't know, platform, then check out the show over there. We really would appreciate some comments. The way that system works, we feed the stream over there, and then there are just a giant archive, a giant table of contents of all the different people feeding them streams. The way that they determine who they're going to feature or recommend as people navigate their system is by comments. And so anybody who would be using that system, we appreciate them leaving comments for us. And then while you're there, go down to the bottom of our list of shows, and you'll see other people that are creating gun-related content out on the iTunes. We'll be featuring some of those and some non-gun related stuff out there that I found interesting as I've been snooping around on iTunes again lately. And I don't know if Maggie's been listening to many podcasts, but I think we'll be ending up doing featuring a bit more podcasts here in the near future. there's quite a few gun ones out there.
Oh yeah, definitely is.
All right, Ted Horse is throwing a link down to Brownells. Some kind of 1911 auto primer tube. What? Oh, 1911 looking primer thing. So that's kind of neat. So if you are looking to get something off of Brownells, we encourage you to check out the links on the front of Gun Channels. We don't have a lot of ads or anything on Gun Channels. We do have that one link on the main page when you log in. That'll alternate every time you refresh the page. It'll either be Brownells, it'll be Palmetto State, or it'll be welcome to Gun Channels type of page, or a little banner. And that's really our only advertising out there. People have asked us to put that out. We do get a little cut, I think 5% of a purchase. So if you're buying something from one of those two vendors, then consider Gun Channels.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to jump into the state of the state?
Yeah, did that give you enough time?
Yeah, I like the idea of using Guam.
All right, so Mickey said, what state do you want? And I said Guam. Nobody else said nothing. So we're going with Guam, which is not really.
To be fair, we did have some input from Steven, but I just like the Guam thing because I don't know much about territory, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of stuff they are.
Well, as far as I know, Guam is an unincorporated and organized territory of the United States. It's in Micronesia in the Western Pacific Ocean. Capital of Guam is something that I can't pronounce, and its most populated city is DDO. The inhabitants of Guam are called Guamidians, which is awesome, and they are American citizens by birth, because we own them. Indigenous Guamidians are the something who are related to other something natives to the west is the Philippines and Taiwan. So it's out there in the Pacific, I guess, is that east out there of Hawaii even? And they're not quite ours, but they're ours. They're a unincorporated, organized territory of the United States.
Yeah. And as far as their gun laws, says gun laws in Guam.
Hold on. Just because I want to put perspective for people. And there's only 162,000 people on Guam. It has an area of 210 square miles. So like out in the middle of nowhere, 162,000 people on 210 square miles. Okay.
All right. So
I won't do any more with facts about Guam so that people can listen to the gun things about Guam.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So if I can get into the gun laws in Guam, regulate sale, possession, and use of firearm and ammunition. As you had mentioned, unincorporated territory of the United States. And because of that, because it is a territory of the United States, many U.S. federal laws apply, as well as constitutional rulings and protections. So permit to purchase, yes, for both long guns and handguns. Like basically a FOID card is required. Owner's license required. Yes, that's the same thing.
It would be called a GOID card.
GOID.
Goidian, it would be called a goiter.
All right, man, we're going off the rails here, buddy. So firearm registration, yes, for both. Open carry is yes for long guns and handguns, but you have to have a FOID card is required. Concealed carry license required. For long guns, no. Handguns, yes. Just Senate bill, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, so it is shall issue. So that's kind of neat. At least they have a shall issue concealed carry license. Assault weapons law, no. So they're doing better than California, New York, and Massachusetts, and New Jersey, and all the other crappy ones. Magazine capacity restriction, no. So that's pretty cool. NFA weapons restricted, yes. So SBRs, SBSs, machine guns, and silencers are prohibited. However, destructive devices and AOWs are legal with a tax stamp. And castle law, it says yes. So they do have at least some type of self-defense in the home, protection for the good guys. Let's see, open carry, a firearm ID card is valid for 3 years, the date of issue, and allows possession to open carry all legal firearms. And then concealed carry, like I said, it just basically recently turned over into the shell issue. And it is covered under the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. So whatever the Ninth Circuit says, that also affects Guam.
So you might.
Midnight has an interesting point. So I'm gonna go look up the crime rate in Guam. That would be kind of interesting.
You might go, why would you need a gun in Guam? So the United States was in the Battle of Guam from July 21st to August 10th, 1944. They recaptured the island from the Japanese military occupation. More than 18,000 Japanese were killed and only 485 surrendered. Then it says, this is on Wikipedia, so it's correct. Sergeant something who surrendered in January 1972, appears to have been the last confirmed Japanese holdout for 28 years in the backcountry of Guam. So 28 years after World War II, this dude was still out there fighting World War II in the backcountry of Guam. You might have been out there walking your dog, had a dude from World War II still thinking we're at war.
Well, I remember about that.
There was quite a few Magnum PIs written about stuff like that. That was the thing in Hawaii also, I think.
So I'm not finding the exact numbers on crime rates, but I found something that rates stuff based on like safety or whatever. Just so for reference, they call this thing like the crime index. United States is like 47.17, Guam is 68.4, and then they have the safety scale. U.S. is 52.8, and Guam is 31.6. So it seems like it might, from whatever these numbers are, this is like a place you check if you want to try and move somewhere. And you're like, whatever, like chances of being mugged or whatever. But I don't have actual like FBI crime data for it. So it's maybe a little bit more crime than like the average U.S.
There you go. Guns on Guam.
But as of December 6, 2017, U.S. statistics, they prove crime is going down in Guam. So it is also getting safety. Or it's getting safer.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I like that. I never really knew much about some of the territories.
I don't think anybody want to go there for a sit at the van. It's 1 million miles away and it's 200 miles long. Stephen Sanders remembers the hurricane and they confiscated firearms on the Virgin Islands. So yeah.
I mean, heck, they did that in New Orleans also. So it's not like they can do that even here at home.
All right. Well, that was our State of the State. Every Tuesday, we try to come up with a new one. We don't have one for next Tuesday, so if you'd like to recommend them, we do have an email address where you can contact us if you're listening to the show now or in the future. dailygunshow@gmail.com. Appreciate any kind of feedback, especially now that we're out on the other platforms, now that we've got a stream out there again, or a feed, I guess I should say more accurately. We'll have that going out to, actually, we already are on Stitcher. I just switched over the I Hate Guns. Was my old podcast on Stitcher. I flipped it over to Daily Gun Show, and it looks like it's still in the midst of like getting updated. But so soon we'll be on Stitcher. I think we already are on Stitcher. It's just waiting for Art to update. Then we'll be on the other podcasting platforms out there on our way towards iHeartRadio and some of the other platforms that go out through the TV. And that'll be interesting to see how that develops. Gun shop of the day. You got anything up your head? We're gonna head over to Gun Shop Guide then. So one of the projects we do is the network of gun websites, and most of them are gun related. One of them that I've been doing for a long time. I'll have to do a history of this site sometime. But I've been doing this site for a long time. As soon as I started doing stuff online, I started doing fishing stuff mostly, but we were going to gun shops whenever we'd go somewhere. We'd check out the gun shops, and if they let me take pictures, I was taking pictures. So back then, I think in 2004, somewhere around there, we decided to start putting the gun stuff on its own sites. Even back in 2004, we knew there was going to be persecution of gun things as far as keywords and subjects of sites and names of sites. So instead of trying to put the gun shows and the gun shops and all that on our hunting sites and on our fishing sites and our outdoor sites, we moved them over to their own websites, their own domain names. And this one's been going for a long time. Now that I've been going on the tours, ever since 2002, really, not 2012, I've been documenting the gun shops and things that we visit along the way. And then more recently, literally go out just to discover new gun shops. So this is where we accumulate them. And whenever I get a chance, I don't play video games, I build websites up. So these kind of sites get built in spurts. Whenever I take a break from something else, like doing books or something boring, I'll go over here and add pictures and develop them a little bit. One of my things now is I'll be incorporating it with some of the other sites, like Tour, the site specifically for the tour, the site for the van, and some of the other projects. So we got the firearms museums here as well, and that's an ever-growing list. And I guess that's our gun shops for today. It's the site that we put all these things on. So one of the goals of this show on a daily basis is so we can talk about gun shops every day. That just happens, during the show, and it only happens on the podcast, and it only happens for whoever it is happens to listen to it, right? And this is a way to supplement that, to get the visits out there and to keep something more permanent out there on the web for these gun shops that we visit as a thank you to their hospitality. And I wanted to put that out there in the show because quite a few people, as I'm sending out the tickets week, the stickers, are going out this week to all the people that supported us on the Gun Show Full spring tour, whatever we're calling it, on Patreon, like last month. And a lot of people put effort into letting this happen. So this is another way that we can share some of the adventure and share some of the pictures and share the experience of going into those shops. And we'll talk about those more as we.
So what you're saying is, if you get more Patreons, you'll go to Guam and check out a gun shop in Guam.
No, I think that would cost a heck of a lot. I don't feel like getting on an airplane. Get enough Patreons, the goal would be to get out to, the first goal would be to get to Castle again, right? Get over to the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Illinois. Turns out the bullpup shoot is right around there too. So I don't think they all work out, because I think the bullpup shoot is the same weekend that the granddaughter is going to be answering questions out at the castle, and that trumps the bullpup shoot for me. But lots of interesting stuff here towards the end of this year, and hopefully before then. But if I ever went international, and I consider Guam international technically, I would go to Mexico and try to go find warlords and check out the guns of the warlords. Then I don't know if I can take the van. I can drive. Just can't really.
That would be interesting.
But that'll be a ways off. I'll probably need more than a couple $100 coming in a month to be able to fund an international warlord tour. So that'll remain the ultimate international goal. And then once we figured out how to go down and meet with warlords and get all kinds of cool pictures of, warlords' arsenals, then we go over to the Asian warlords.
All right, that sounds like a plan. So, anyways, I just want to mention here with the gun shop thing. I kind of forget if you mentioned this, but you did say about our email, dailygunshow@gmail.com. If you have a gun shop in your area, send us an email, maybe some pictures, or even just like a link to your Instagram. We haven't talked about this in a while, but I like posting pictures of the gun shop and then using hashtag like Daily Gun Shop. And then we can search that hashtag, kind of like hashtag Daily Gun Show, which all of you should be using.
Only if they want to be judged and if they want a chance at winning the best picture on Instagram.
Right. But the whole Daily Gun Shop thing is another way to kind of separate out just the gun shop pics. And then just mention that in your email, and then we can pull up your Instagram while we're showing off the shop.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. And it gets the word out there for the shop. I do that all the time, and I'm surprised sometimes that some of the little shops are already on Instagram. So then I can link up with them.
Oh, yeah, that's even better. You can tag them and add them and all that stuff. But, yeah, so do we want to do the gun movie of the day?
Sounds good. Do we have a gun movie today? Oh, yeah, we do. So have you seen it?
Once I click the tab, I'll let you know.
I have
Dunkirk. No, I have not seen that.
Me either. So do we talk about a movie that neither one of us that's from 2017? Ugh, I don't feel like it. I don't even want to see this movie. It's like World War II again. Germany advanced into France, trapping Allied troops on the beaches of Dunkirk. Under air and ground cover from British and French troops, slowly, methodically excavated from the breach, using every serviceable naval and civilian vessel that could be found. At the end of the heroic mission, well, they spoil it. So thanks. Sounds like a horrible situation, and they made a movie about it. I don't usually like those. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be good. I mean, I do like war movies, but I don't know. General Relativity is saying Dunkirk was meh.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that's our review. It's meh.
Josh says he's seen 30 minutes of it, so can't be that good. So I'm gonna go talk about. I'm gonna go talk about a podcast. What do you think of that?
It's like a movie for your ears.
How am I gonna get to it? Is it even possible? I guess I can go to here. I think I killed all the links to iTunes because I'm waiting for the new one to come up. Nope. No, I did. Here's one. Over to iTunes. That's funny. Definitely.
No, I just doing some typo hashtagging. Probably don't want to use hashtag Dakey Guns. And so I was trying to add Daily Gun Shop to Ruby's down in Illinois.
So I basically went to our iTunes thing. So you can go, iTunes is horribly complicated and unnecessarily frustrating. So you can go to iTunes and you can view it through the website, I guess, itunes.apple.com, and you can see like our podcast here. But if you were to try to click on anything to listen to it, it would make you go to like a browser version of iTunes, I guess, and I'm not going there because I don't like it. So instead, I would just scroll down to the bottom of our like placeholder, our little place here on iTunes that describes what we've got up there. Then you go to the bottom and it can give you some stuff that it recommends. And that's where I clicked on Gun Freedom Radio. This is a podcast here in Arizona, or based out of Arizona here, from a gun shop called Easy Guns. I did a picture of their truck on Instagram earlier today, I think, or else yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't think I did.
Anyway, Cheryl and Todd, or Dan and Cheryl Todd are the hosts of it and the owners of the shop, I think. And they've been doing this podcast, I think, for a while. Does it say when they started doing it? I guess not here. From this, again, website version of iTunes, you can get out to the website associated with the podcast, and maybe here they'll talk about their deal. Not a big fan of the flag stuff they got going on there, but basically it says that they've been business owners for 60 years, and doesn't really say how long the shop's been there, but they've, as long as I've been doing stuff with Arizona Citizens Defense League and the various pro-gun stuff here in Arizona, they've been around and involved, interviewing people, funding things. At the last gun rights policy conference, they were the ones that provided the bags. I don't know if you remember the giant pile of books everybody gets from the Second Amendment Foundation.
Yep, I do remember that because you sent a couple of those to me for being a Patreon, and I super appreciate that.
Right on. So they've provided the bag that everybody was able to get home with, or get all those books home with. So they're really active, and I haven't listened to too many of their podcasts. Every once in a while, I do listen to one. Very highly produced, I guess you could say. Like, they do it all fancy, like a real radio show, and they're real proud of it. And they've got a lot of good reviews, 12 of them. I mean, that's not huge, but for gun stuff, that's very few of us gun podcasts have reviews. So they got a good review, and so it's, I think, all valid. If I went over there and looked at them, they'd be all valid ones, not a bunch of troll stuff. And good people. So that's our gun movie of the day, is a podcast called Gun Freedom Radio. And I think one of the other nice things about it is it's a 2-hour show. They break it up into 2 hours, and they're on episode 108. And if you look, got 200 something of them up here, because they've got pretty much all of them up. So everything from episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 to when they started splitting them into the 2 hours, and they give you the episode number over on the side here, and then a description which tells you what's going on. So they take a little effort. A lot of the stuff you see where people didn't pay attention, it'll just say episode 108, episode 108, and you have no idea what they're talking about. So as far as podcasts go, I think they might be an interesting one if you're interested in gun-related stuff, and that's your gun movie of the day. You're welcome.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
Also, Dunkirk.
Meh.
Yeah, exactly. Bleh. So, what did I do to my gun channels? There it is. Mixed up over here. I guess we can link to that. I'll try it at least on the YouTube side, and then I'll do it again with the little thingy that Night Strike says works. And then I'll drop it in gun channels because I know it'll work over there, because we built gun channels to not suck. Boom. All right, well, Steven's out of here. Went too long, so it looks like we're right at the top of the hour. What do we got left? We got the history of the day.
Yeah, good history for today.
Yesterday or today, depending on where you are, is VE Day, Victory in Europe. We kicked the butt of the Nazis. They gave up. And then there's another thing that happened today. You know what the other thing is? Older.
I do not know.
Older. It is from, I'm scrolling down. It is from, oh, I don't even have it in here. All right, well, I guess I don't have it in here. Look at my phone. So, 1754, first newspaper cartoon in the United States appears. They don't tell us what it is. That would be too difficult, because that would have been interesting, don't you think?
It would have been very interesting.
I bet you it's like Ben Franklin, though. Probably him making some kind of witty thing. So 1792, which isn't too far after that, Uniform Military Act. May 8th, 1792, the United States Congress passes the Uniform Military Act, or excuse me, Uniform Militia Act, requiring all free white men between the ages of 18 and 45 to enroll in their state militias. So I forgot to put that one up on the Instagram today, but today is the Uniform Militia Act of 1792. That would be an interesting thing for people to be talking about in their discussions, maybe tomorrow. Okay, so 1936, fascist Italy captures Ethiopia, annexes the country. So fucking Italians took Ethiopia today in 1936. 1926, Byrd and some other guy flew over the North Pole for the first time. 1926. Oh, look at that. 1962, a laser is successfully bounced off the moon for the first time, at least according to public record.
Yep, and that you're able to do that because they actually left mirrors that are like multi-directional kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Like anyone can do that. Like anyone can shoot a laser if you know what part of the moon to get at. Which proves that we went to the moon. Just saying.
1941. How do you know it's not just glitter on a disc drawn on the dome? 1941, the German submarine U-110 is captured at sea along with its Enigma machine by the Royal Navy. So I guess we grabbed a Nazi Enigma machine before we did VE Day. So what the hell? I guess this thing must have said VE Day yesterday because it's the 9th on this list.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. We have some history for you. We talked about that. So now you have something to talk about at the water cooler, the gun shop, gun show this weekend maybe. We talked about the gun shop guide. It's a website, gunshopguide.com, which you can find over at gunwebsites.com or just search for gun shop guide and you'll find it. And that's where we keep an archive, a list of all the shops that we visited. And eventually we'll start incorporating shops that other people visit, like Smeggy said, with the hashtag, or we'll probably, as I have time, I'll probably include a page over on the Daily Gun Show where we have all the shops that we featured here, and then I can duplicate that over on that site for anybody that might be interested. And again, some of this stuff is done for human beings to see, but half of my motivation is to help out these gun shops that can't pay for nor would bother to put effort into linking themselves out onto a site like Gun Channels, which is currently getting, like, even in its downtime, 1 million hits a month. So, why not hook up a gun shop who, is competing with other shops in the area? If they took the time to let us come in and take some pictures and shoot the breeze, then we'll continue to put forth effort to make them found out there when people are searching. Anyways, we talked about that a little bit. We talked about Guam, the guns of Guam. We talked about Ghost Tactical, who may or may not have been on Guam because he's a Marine. And then what do we start this whole thing out with today? Every second matters, I guess.
Yep.
So that'll bring us into tomorrow. Tony had to go to the doctor, and I had to do my bill today. So we'll be back tomorrow with Early Watch, 10 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we start a little bit earlier. Then Knives usually has something going during the day. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so I'm guessing I haven't switched everything over on Gun Channels yet, so we'll go up to the live show schedule and refresh our memories here with what's going on Wednesdays. Starts off with Rick. That's what I was thinking of, with his shooting in the disabled. He was getting a little down the other day, and want to keep Rick motivated. I know that sometimes if people don't see their subs counts go up, or they don't see dollars coming into an affiliate system or something to indicate that your stuff's a massive success or some kind of viral phenomenon, positive stuff is still being done. And Dead Horse is over there having a great time with the guy in Florida, who I can't remember his name right now. And a lot of that has to do with Rick doing his Wednesday show. And he only started doing that show as a lark, I think, is just a way to kind of branch out from his Saturday show on the topic of shooting with disabilities. So anyway, Rick's doing his show tomorrow. That should be a good one, like usual. Clover then does his show, and then Matt comes up with his Guns and Politics Wednesday night thing. I can podcast again, so I'm going to figure out when to stick the AK-47 Guru podcast back up on the air. I will try to figure out which channel is the best to do it on. Although, what's today? 8th? I guess I have another 20-something days, not quite 20 days. I have about 14 days, and I get my live streaming back. So maybe I'll wait till then, and then I'll start doing the AK-47 one again. Anyway, we'll be back here tomorrow at midnight Eastern. And let's see, Angelina should be in Albuquerque if everything went according to plan today. And if she's not driving as far tomorrow, maybe she'll check in. If she's not tired, I think if she drove according to plan, she should have drove 12 or 16 hours today. She's crazy. And I don't know if Smeggy will be back or not.
Yeah, I should be around.
Dano might be in. I don't know who's going to jump in. And it sounds like Potatoes already has something set up for right after this show. So I don't know if Smeggy was planning on doing a cave or not. But Potatoes already has a cauldron going. What does Potatoes call his thing? Oh, he calls it Tater
I think
Tube?
it should be called Talking Taters.
It's Tater Tube.
Tater Tube, yep.
So he's got a tater tube up and going right now. You can go check out that. I'm looking to see, I don't see an Ellis up there, but I'm guessing Ellis is just getting ready to cork them right now because I see Ellis is green out there. With that, I think we'll say thanks everybody for watching. We're just a little bit, well, actually, we're probably right on the hour here. I'm going to try to keep them about an hour now that we're on the iTunes. We've got to be real fancy about that.
Yeah, I'd like to finish up with a quote here real quick if we can.
Make it long, like 5 buttons to push.
Yeah, 5 buttons to push. Okay, so I'm going to channel my inner Bob and say, everyone, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Check us out over on Gun Channels. Check out Every Second Matters, and you know, do all that other good stuff. Tell your friends. Yeah, because we're cool, and you guys are cool, and we'll all be cool together. Does that take enough time? Can I get into the quote now?
Yep.
All right. So this is from I don't know. I found this thing. Actually, I'll give you guys a secret. If you go to buckeyfirearms.org, they have a thing for quotes. And they're pretty good.
Come on.
They're not supposed to say that?
I know you like to just plunder everything Ohio's do, but come on. We're nice. Nobody's going to take them all.
Yeah, well, you know, that's how Michigan rolls. So this is from under their section like citizens or whatever. So this is Rand T. Lexon. I have no idea who that is, just some person. But those gun control activists advocating exchange of liberty for safety should recall that the safest place on earth is solitary confinement at Leavenworth.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.